Hi, welcome to CMORoom Spotlight. I'm Andrea Orth, Executive Director of CMORoom. I'm here with J.P. Jansen, who's now working on a lot of board work, but was most recently the CMO of Mars Pet Care. Thank you for joining us for our Spotlight interview today. We're here in beautiful Manhatta, down in Lower Manhattan, New York City.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate your time. So I'm just going to kick it right off and start with some questions that we have for you that we just want to cover. What would you say is a defining moment in your career? Really kind of shaped how you feel about marketing and the future of marketing.
Yeah. Interestingly, it was the moment I left the function. I left marketing. It was about 10 years ago when I took on a role at a beauty company to be the VP of e-commerce, building e-commerce from scratch. And it was really a defining moment because it gave me a much broader perspective on commercially how you grow brands online. It gave me multifunctional leadership, including supply chain and logistics. And then after 5 years, when I returned into marketing, it just allowed me to have a broader perspective on how to grow brands, particularly with the likes of Amazon and with all the growth we're seeing online.
Yeah, which is really where so much of the growth is happening in any type of packaged goods, right? I mean, everything's just kind of starting to shift there.
Yes.
Great. You've also spoken in the past about the balance between art and science. How do you personally think about it in this kind of marketing leadership in this modern way of marketing?
Yes. Almost everything that's successful in marketing starts with the consumer insight, and leveraging data, but also intuition, to really uncover what are the key insights that are going to help make your brand more relevant or are going to help grow the category. That's where it starts. And the art part is often finding that creative connection that suddenly makes your brand, your benefit very relevant to that consumer based on those insights. So no matter where we are and where technology is going, you will always have that art and science balance, especially in consumer goods marketing.
I'm going to throw one at you that we didn't talk about, but we're coming right off of the Super Bowl. Do you think that any brand did a really good job of balancing those two that you can think of? If you can't think of one off the top of your head, no problem, but just thought it might be an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what PepsiCo was doing. Also going back to something that has been the strength of them, of theirs, and making a pretty bold move during the Super Bowl. Although it was probably a very expensive ad, I love Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah,
yes.
Dunkin', very consistent,
yes.
Playing their proud Bostonian heritage. So those stood out to me.
Yeah, and that one was great for somebody who, kind of grew up in the 90s or was growing up in the 90s, but kind of remembered all of those characters. It really spoke to me as well. Love that one. Wonderful. So when we start to think about like digital channels, media, search, all really evolving rapidly, what's changed most in how you think about performance marketing compared to maybe you have, in past years?
Yeah. Well, the OG of performance marketing is obviously search. And that's being completely disrupted now with AI search and AI summaries. In a way, certain things have changed, certain things are the same. So instead of keywords, it's now really understanding the queries, the key questions that are relevant for your brand and the territory your brand plays in, and then understanding which are the sources the different LLMs are looking at in order to provide the answers, and then getting ready to influence those sources. I think the key difference here, though, is that it is less about your own platforms. It's more about influencing reviews, what's happening in social media, what people say about it, about your brand, and then how you then make that congruent in your own platforms. So it is not as straightforward anymore as it used to be, but there are some fundamental principles that are still the same.
Yeah, AI has really taken over, and it's really become like the thing that everyone's working on, thinking about, trying to figure out how best to utilize. So really interesting to see where that's going to go. When you're thinking about evaluating digital media and, maybe an example from Mars Pet Care, your media investments, what did you find was truly driving growth versus some sort of short term or just kind of nice to haves like impressions? What did you find really drove growth for the brand?
Yeah. So one thing is it repeatable? So once you see a certain activation with maybe a newer platform or going into maybe an area or territory you haven't played in, and you see success, is that repeatable? Maybe on a different brand or with a different or during a different time of year. The moment you see it's repeatable, then it starts becoming something that becomes what we called in Mars a key media belief. And then the second piece about the long-term impact is specifically, are you driving household penetration? Brands fundamentally grow first and foremost through penetration, household penetration. And then importantly, what is the incentive for those new households to come into your brand? If it's purely discount or price driven, the likelihood that the impact is long-term is smaller. If people come into your brand because they buy into your benefit, your proposition, obviously the likelihood that it is a long-term brand builder is much bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of, with any packaged goods, really kind of fighting against that household penetration with all the competition that's out there, it can really be something that's going to push you over the top,
yeah,
for sure. What's one marketing or media trend that you're most excited about, you're paying close attention to, and really think other CMOs should as well?
Yeah, one thing that it's almost science fiction, but this is the notion of predictive targeting. We're getting to an era where we will be able to predict with a pretty high likelihood what people will do before people actually realize it themselves. That's, on the one hand, a bit scary. For example, if you take pet food, we're now able to see with a pretty high likelihood who in the next 90 days will get a puppy or a kitten. Even before people are researching it or thinking about it.
I was going to say, is it because of the research or?
No,
okay, you're just predicting their
yeah.
life stage?
Well, one thing, for example, again, leveraging AI, what we uncovered is other puppies that are coming into the neighborhood is a key predictor.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then if you think about it, that actually makes sense. Because if there's a cute puppy
right.
in your neighborhood,
yes.
it triggers others to say, hey, maybe
I want one of those.
I want one of those too. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. That's actually how I ended up getting a dog, is my stepson got one. And then it kind of, we saw it a lot, but then when we didn't see it, we missed it.
Yeah.
And so we had to get our own. And then he started traveling for work a lot, so now we have two.
Yeah.
Now we have his as well. Yeah. Well, that was great. I really love kind of thinking about really that predictive analytics and what the future of that is. I worked on a project quite a few years ago for McDonald's doing some predictive analytic work with data scientists, and honestly, I think it gave me my first gray hairs because it was really, it's complex the way that we're looking at marketing these days, so it's exciting. One last just spur of the moment question. We're here tonight for a dinner with our New York community for CMORoom. What are you hoping to kind of go away from this dinner with tonight?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we're in a super inspiring location, and that's what I'm looking for: inspiration, thought leadership, but also sharing experiences. Mm-hmm. There's always a little bit of FOMO among CMOs. Are we missing out on the latest? Are we missing out on some new solution or some new platform? So it's always great when CMOs have an opportunity to come together, exchange experiences, and also walk away a little bit more confident in the direction that we're taking.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to the dinner. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.